So I wonder about something that I was reading some comments from Arthur Blank, and we had Arthur Blank on our radio show here recently. We're the home of the Falcons, and he's doing the Super Bowl media tours and all that good kind of stuff. And I was looking at an article from my buddy Mike Rothstein about Desmond Ritter and all that stuff, and they're excited. Arthur Blank said, "quote We're very excited about Desmond Ritter. I think from time to time, or I think from the time he came in to training camp, he showed great capabilities as a leader amongst his rookies and a leader amongst the vets." And then he went on to talk about the idea that they need other quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota most likely is going to get cut, barring a miracle. Logan Whiteside, they've got to upgrade at that position. Okay. And then, he talked about, having a quarterback on a rookie contract and all this good kind of stuff. And he had this quote: "As good as the quarterback may be, and they're certainly a critical part of the winning formula, they can't play by themselves. And there are 21 other players that need to play as well. We're committed to the position, obviously, and we know we need a good leader there. I think we have it in Ritter." Okay. Now, here is my thought about this. Is Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot really in charge of what the direction of the quarterback position is going to be for the Atlanta Falcons? So here's what we know, okay? And maybe past predictors is pointing to future things and stuff like that. The whole Deshaun Watson conversation and the idea of trading for Deshaun Watson, that didn't come from Terry Fontenot. That didn't come from Arthur Smith. They were going to play with Matt Ryan for one more year and then get out of the cap purgatory and all that kind of stuff and not take nearly the hit. They were going to play with Matt Ryan for another year. That was an Arthur Blank call. And don't get it confused. That was all Arthur Blank that wanted the Deshaun Watson trade to happen. That he was the one guiding the Deshaun Watson trade. And I say that because what makes you think that Arthur Blank isn't looking at making a deal for a Lamar Jackson, even if it means going against what Terry Fontenot, what Arthur Smith may want to do? And they may be on board and all this kind of stuff. I mean, they may semi be on board, we got to upgrade at that position and things like that. But while I understand that he said that, he was a leader and all this, that, and the other, and we're committed and all that. Look, Marcus Mariota is not going to be here. Logan Whiteside may or may not be here. Who cares if Logan Whiteside is here? Okay. At that point, who cares about Logan Whiteside? And I do think that at the end of the day, I'm not for the Lamar Jackson trade. I'm not for giving up all those assets and things like that. But Arthur Blank was in the business of going after Deshaun Watson. And we all knew going into this deal that the asking price, first and foremost, was 3 first-round draft picks. You couldn't even have the meeting with Deshaun Watson unless you came with 3 first-round draft picks that you were willing to part with. And then obviously you had to sign him to a big contract. Now, I'm not comparing Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson from the situation that they're in, but the asking price and compensation for Watson and Lamar is probably going to be pretty comparable. The idea of Lamar Jackson turned down 160 to 180 million guaranteed, if you believe what the reports are. If you believe those reports, he turned down 160, 180 million guaranteed because he thought he should get a Deshaun Watson deal of 200 or more. And if Arthur Blank was willing to do that, then Arthur Blank's also willing to make a move on Lamar Jackson, as they're out of their cap purgatory. They have assets. They were willing, if they were willing before, because you couldn't have the meeting with Deshaun, they were willing before. Are they willing now? And I just, maybe I'm reading a little bit more into Arthur's comments and things like that. Arthur Blank's comments, pronouns, pal. what his comments are. You know, yes, he said he was committed. Yes, he said he's a leader and things like that. But you could have said, and I understand the competition thing, and Arthur Blank's probably not going to say this at any point that, yeah, he's our unquestioned starter going into next year. Okay. I just wonder that if Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith are really in control and have the keys to the car when it comes to driving the quarterback conversation, because it was an Arthur Blank move to go after Deshaun Watson. It backfired on them because they thought they would have Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot. They thought they would have Matt Ryan for one more year, and then they would move on from Matt. And then Matt said, well, if you're going after Deshaun Watson, I don't want to be here anymore. And he facilitated the trade to the Indianapolis Colts and all that. So that was their plan. That Deshaun Watson became their first plan because of the owner. Their second plan was to play with Matt Ryan. That all blew up in their face, and then they had to, scramble, and you get Marcus Mariota. And I don't know that they would. I still think they would have drafted Desmond Ridder because you would have drafted a young guy. But I just wonder if Arthur Blank is really the guy that's controlling the keys to the, in the car. That if Arthur Blank isn't the guy, he was going to do it last year with Deshaun Watson. Does he do it again this year with Lamar Jackson? And look, you can argue about all the reasons why and why not. We need Lamar Jackson. You can argue about the amount of capital and things like that it's going to take. You can argue about the amount of money that it take, right? All those things are all valid points. I can understand the pros and the cons. I'm on the con side of all of this. But at the end of the day, the decision's not mine. And I don't know that, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that it's Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith's decision. Arthur Blank is at a point where he wants to get bold, and he's looking at winning a Super Bowl. He talked about in the article from Mike Rothstein, the idea of, I think we're in a very good position going forward. I think Coach Smith and his staff have done a remarkable job over the last 2 years, transitioning the roster from what we had and the vision that we have and building for the future. And then he said about expectations, quote, my expectations in terms of competitiveness would be higher. And I think that the coach will tell you that. Terry will tell you that. And if it's higher, that should translate into more wins, but you're not in the business of really projecting wins. Now, here's what I read. Is it make or, again, and I've talked about this before, I don't think it's make or break for Terry and Arthur. I don't think if they're out of the playoffs or anything like that, that it's make or break and they're all going to get fired, okay? But I do think that they have to be with a winning record. I do think that they have to have a winning record and show that this franchise is moving forward. Now, again, you don't need many more wins to get a winning record. You win 2 more games, you're 9-8 on the season, right? And that's what Detroit was. And Arthur Blank is not one of those guys that's going to sit back and just kind of wait for the whole process to unfold just because, it's the way things are. Look, he's looking at it as he's, 80 years old now? He wants to win a Super Bowl. You see Jacksonville went from 3 wins to 9 wins, won their division. You see that the Detroit Lions, they got, they traded their franchise quarterback, got a Super Bowl quarterback in return, and then they addressed their offensive line in one draft, addressed their defensive line in another draft, and voila, they're 9-8. So I don't think Arthur Blank is going to just sit back and let a lengthy process play itself out, and especially at the quarterback position. He spent a lot of his tenure with Matt Ryan, and he watched it as when he bought the franchise, what was the first thing they did? They moved up to number 1 in the draft to go get Michael Vick. Very first thing. In fact, Arthur had to get the blessing of the Rankin Smith family or the Smith family to make that kind of move because it was happening as the transition was happening. He had to get the blessing to go up and make that move. And they picked Michael Vick number 1. And then the Michael Vick era, and obviously, the good and the bad and everything like that. He ends up in prison and all that kind of stuff. So Arthur lived with watching Doug Johnson and Kurt Kittner, and then Byron Leftwich and Joey Harrington. And then they hit the jackpot, they hit the lottery. Thomas and those guys draft Matt Ryan with the third pick of the draft, and he becomes the franchise quarterback. He becomes the most important player in franchise history. So I question whether or not Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot are really driving the conversation about what the quarterback position is going to be. If Arthur Blank showed you that he would go make a move for Deshaun Watson, I certainly think that he will make a move for Lamar Jackson as well. I want to talk about my friends over at Built Bar. Listen, Built.com is the place to go. Everybody's trying to get themselves in shape, eat healthier, all that good stuff. I'm trying to do the same thing, right? So you're looking for, when you're talking about your snack foods and different things like that, low sugar, low carb, low calorie, but high protein. Well, Built Bar's got everything taken care of for you. Whether you want traditional protein bars, whether you want the protein-infused marshmallow puffs for a little different taste and texture, Built Bar has got you covered all the way through. Churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, brownie batter, all the different flavor, double chocolate, coconut puffs. They got all the cookies and cream. They got all the different flavors available to you at Built.com for you to pick through, whether you want the protein bars, whether you want the marshmallow puffs. But now, besides going to Built.com, you can go to Walmart in the pharmacy section, or you can go to Sam's Club and pick you up a box of Built Bars right then and there. So if you don't want to go the route of online shopping and all that kind of stuff, and I'm a brick and mortar guy, right? When I want to go to the store and put my hands on it, you can go to Walmart and Sam's Club now and pick you up a box of Built Bars. Go there today, check it out, or do it the traditional way of going online and going through all the different flavors as you're looking for the snacks that are 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, but a whopping 17 grams of protein. Built.com, or go to Walmart, Sam's Club, and pick up your box of Built Bars today.